Muy buenas noches, everyone. I hope everybody's doing well, blessed, and enjoying family. As always, muchas gracias to everyone for everyone's words, wishes, prayers, as the love and support everyone shares with me. From the heart, thank you. Also, do please like, share, subscribe, and hype the video to help support the message. Gracias. Well, everyone, on this one, I want to touch on the Pili cricket from Hazzard. I've been promising a camarada I would for a while, and even though I done a couple, you could say spills on him, still palabras, palabra, right? So, anyways, I want to take you back 2016-17. It was either the end of one or the beginning or the other, right? But I was out there with Sana, Pennsylvania, and see, I never dare ask me personally what the pili was mixed with. Of course, it made sense from the past history and the last name, right? That he was half black and half rasa. Which again, there ain't nothing wrong with that. It's just just being curious. You're there. You wanna learn about the next individual, right? Just like they pretty much know everything about you. But anyways, I started off with this because for some reason at this time something happened on the streets. Out there in Hazzard amongst them, there was a big move, and I understand. Well, we say it and think about the veterano from Hazzard right now. It's him and Mosca, right? But due to cricket being known as Chump's son, he has a lot of priority because as Champ, he had a lot of love and respect in his neighborhood, right? Not just his neighborhood, all around his neighborhood, period, point blank, right? But, anyways, at this time, my celly was Little Boxer from V&E. He was there for, I guess, they were sending people to the feds for the type of guns they were getting caught with, right? But I learned a lot from the homie, even though he was younger, at least when it came to that angle of our movement, right, which is East LA. And, there was a lot of, we'll call it wars, but you guys know it ain't wars, right? It was cricket, putting all the two homies that he didn't want no more blacks in his neighborhood, which to me personally, it made no sense, right? Him being half black, and I guess they just didn't want to fall with his program. and he was in a spot, excuse me, and a DC Black basically called him out his name, right? It was one of them things that whoever does it is done, it's through. So Cricket, he tries to press the issue. He never asks, he never even comments it to camaradas. I'm sure to Pilis, they had to discuss it to a point, right? But at least to us, it was, we might go to war with the DC Blacks. Okay, Mambo, let's boogie if that's the case. Where I was at with Sana in Pennsylvania, we were outnumbered bad. You know, the only little buffer zone that we might have had was the Tango Blast that might jump in for us, right? But other than that, we were gonna get smashed down, which is part of, and we were just waiting on word from Cricket, and I asked, I'll tell you what I did. I asked the reason behind it, right? There was a lot of camaradas showed to the house, and them type of wars, you lose dates. Me personally, I have not been sentenced. I didn't know when I was going home. I didn't know if the RICO was going to go through and I was going to get stuck. So I wasn't even tripping again on that, right? But I was on, for example, the little homie boxer. He had a year left, right, out of the five, and we went to war. You needed that buffer, if you guys get what I'm trying to say, or it was going to be worse for you. So you were either could put in a spot to where you pick up a buffer, handle business, or you go out there, man up, and get beat in. You know, you guys know I'm not gonna sugarcoat. I'm gonna keep it real. Well, not to make it long, right? It turned out that the best spot for the homies to move and stay Cricket's Point was in USB Atlanta. At the moment, and yeah, it came down. The homies, they bucked up, and here's the kicker was that Norteños bucked up with the homies. They did them a favor and they rode together in this one. But it was one of them dumb things, because when push came to shove and everything started coming back down the pipeline on the reasons why, and I guess Cricket and this DC Black were in a situation where they could talk, right? And Cricket was telling them in his own words, right? Just because I try to keep a lot of things out that DC Blacks had to get with the program. They could have whatever they want, they could sell whatever they want, but they were going to buy from them, and period. point blank, or not, they were gonna start wiping out, you know, on the streets with blacks. And it's dumb, and it's stupid. Let's just be sincere. It's like right now, us or norteños coming up to each other and telling us, you either sell my stuff, I'm gonna start moving on your people. What's gonna happen the next day? Either or are gonna move on us, right? It's just common sense. And then you do it to me personally say the most powerful and big movement in the feds is gonna be a hell no from the gate. Cricket got called out his name, because the DC black knew he was mixed. All them type of traitor and trying to hurt your race and whatever. However they went about it, it was their business, right? But cricket was hot to the point that I'm telling you, it went up pretty good in USP Atlanta, and a lot of homies got hurt. A lot of DC blacks got hurt, and at the end of the day, nothing happened. Not one thing. They stood doing their thing, and they didn't really follow what Cricket said. Cricket had just, I don't know, I guess he was going back and forth to a detention facility for a case they wanted to pull on him. I don't know if he was stressed, trying to cause drama, but it's when I personally believe Güero Shy took over. You see, for a while, it was always up for debate if Cricket was the chido in the feds because the way he was and the clecha he had from Champ, right? And of course, Güero Shy wouldn't really need to get into him, his antiquity, the work he's put in. There's no need to even touch on Güero Shy. He's known for what he's done, but it definitely put a strength on that relationship, which mostly everybody started congratulating Shy, right? Well, a year and a half went by, and Cricket came back. And when he came back with a vengeance. And have you guys heard of a little war that happened inside the federal system called the East and the Southeast War? Well, in my next story, I would tell you about it. And it was behind Shy and Cricket wanted to be the top dog. So, don't get misled with everyone's equal. No, not everyone's equal. That's why I say whatever you do for a bill in one place, it's not gonna mean nothing in another place because maybe that other Billy feels above this one, or even if he feels underneath that one, he's still the Billy on the yard. You see what I'm saying? But I'll get more into detail about this. I just wanted to share this story that I don't know if Cricket was upset. I don't know how Hazzard has it with black people, right? The wars or whatever. Do excuse me. I'm from Northern California, but it was one of the first time I've been to a war with a different race behind us trying to make them sell our work. You see, it just makes no sense. And then when he came back with the vengeance, he didn't even. He had a whole bunch of pillies already with him, which I would touch better, you know. But from the beginning, I don't want to make stories with this. I'm basically the glimpse into what I'm trying to say in this is we ain't nothing. We weren't even capable of knowing what was going on. Why was it going on? Why you, if you had months, might be losing your date? Why you might be picking life? Why you might be losing your life on the yard? Because it was all their decisions. They all agreed to go to war because most of them ain't going to. It's going to be camaradas. So what I'm trying to say is don't get fed to that we can win, we could treat it right with respect, honor. No. You know what it reminds me of times, and I'm sorry I say it like this. I apologize to all camaradas. When you have a dog and you tell him, hey, vámonos. And your dog is like, no, vámonos. He don't ask you for an explanation. He gets happy and he goes, right? Now that's what I feel they're looking at us as. Just imagine the bloodshed behind something that was just never going to happen. Anyway, stay true to yourself and loyal to loved ones. Buenas noches. Please look into the reaction channel tomorrow. It'll be about El Cochiloco, or I'll be reacting of the number one speaker for snitches and his funny way of seeing the angle of Mexico. With this, I send my love and prayers. Buenas noches.